Hey everybody, Noe here. I decided to work on a kind of a large project. This was an acrylic April project that Vanessa, or the gritty artist, was originally doing. So I went ahead and took a look at the prompts, and there were 30, one for each day. So I decided to just take certain words and put them into the piece. But of course things derivate like they usually do, and I never quite know how pieces are going to come out. But to be honest, I really like how all these different pieces came out. Certainly started out pretty different from each other, and I just tried to kind of use evocative imagery, lots of nice colors. I brought a bunch of metallics in, so I really like the look of metallics, how especially when you flex them with the light, they really shine and they look really interesting and different. And if nothing else, it's really interesting to look at. You never quite know what you're going to see. One thing I'd like to make mention of is that I'm a big fan of doing sort of pieces within pieces. I like seeing these large pieces with smaller sections within them that are basically built out to be their own individual little art showcases. And each piece gets to have its own personality. And because art is all about expressing oneself, I love the chance to be able to express these ideas and concepts. I think there's a lot that you can do with these smaller pieces. There's a lot of little worlds you can build into them. A lot of times they do feel like mirrors into another world, a chance to look deeper into a piece and see something that maybe you just didn't really get the chance to notice before. Just something small, something with a little bit of life springing forth. And the colors to help accurately represent just sort of the complexities of nature and the universe. And also it gives a sense of narration to the piece. It lets you look at the piece and see what you see. And I like how everyone kind of has their own interpretations for these small sections, because you really never know what a person's going to see, what meaning they're going to be able to take away from these different colors and lines and how they come together to form these objects. And also sometimes it's just a chance to kind of show off just techniques and color combinations and just try to build a little bit of a story into it. Maybe not everyone's going to get that story from the piece, but you'll know it's there, and that's the important part. There's a lot you can do with even just a small section, building in little buildings in the distance. I especially like playing with perspective and sort of seeing kind of the continuity of colors even when they're broken up by other colors. It's just a lot of fun. Art really gives me the chance to explore all kinds of things, and a lot of times it's surprising to me what's going to come out of that bin. I never quite know when I get started on a piece how it's going to really end up. And it's fun just to see traveling down the piece and finding all kinds of interesting images to look at and just never quite knowing what's going to be around the next bend. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background, but let's go ahead and just get right into the picture itself. Piece number 1 is going to be glow. I would describe this piece as a brilliant glow from an explosive light. It's like a big bang, where a single point becomes so much more. On the outskirts of the piece, the darkness is being driven back by the light. Little black particles are seeded throughout the explosion. For this piece, I wanted something that felt warm and impactful, something that you could really kind of feel the heat coming off of. I wanted something very bright, very attention-catching, but with an edge of power and strength. So for this one, I really like the way the metallics look on the sunburst. It's just very bright and effulgent, and it just looks really nice. I like the way they shine and shimmer. I also enjoy the sort of red flecks coming on across the sort of the outskirts of the explosion, the way there's just these little red flecks of some kind of explosive material, but I just thought it was a nice touch. Piece number 2 is Unexpected Journey. An inviting gold and red pathway leads into a set of structures in the distance. These represent possibility, community, and adventure. Many shades of green make up the field, showing the diversity of life. Cutting through this foliage, the pathway separates the wilds from civilization, and the towers that the path leads to are horizontal slats, representing the layers and layers of rules the civilization is built upon. Really enjoyed the way the little road winds through into the distance where there's all the buildings. I like the buildings a lot. I feel like they have a lot of personality on their own, different colors, different shapes. And then the towers being just these sort of stacked horizontal slats of some kind of material. I thought those really nice. I liked that I used multiple colors for those, and they were different colors for each one. Piece number 3 is going to be Fire and Ash. Taking center stage is a flaming egg, which symbolizes birth, potential, and the spirit of life. Surrounding it are the ashes of the old, which will dissolve to make way for the new. Metallic coils create the shape of the egg, showing the circuitousness of the world. I love the way the egg looks, the way the flames are sort of kind of contained in the blue outline around it, the blue metallic outline. I feel like it sort of sections it in and keeps it contained, but then it's fire, so it's kind of sort of spurting out uncontrollably. I love the way the fire looks, where you have the different shades of yellow and red that kind of make up the whole surface of it. And then the way that the wires look, the metallic blue wires look that are going through the egg. I thought they looked really nice, really interesting. Gave it more of a dynamic shape. Piece 4 is The Innocent. A young, inexperienced child's eye peers out at the new world around it. Above it, a mobile of a spaceship and a planet hang suspended, representing the possibilities yet to be explored, and the wide-eyed idealism of youth. The Innocence pictures was pretty fun to work on. It's just a very different, sort of a different perspective. It was a lot closer up, more right there, right in the face. And you have then the little mobile above with the stars. I put a little gel pen into the stars to make them kind of stick out a little bit. Piece number 5 is Brilliancy of Color. An alien aurora borealis twinkles and dazzles in all of its brilliance. Below the mesmerizing sky are a set of colored mountains, and below that is the colorful reflection in a body of water. I enjoyed the aurora borealis on this picture. I wasn't sure exactly how to make it, but I just kind of went in with a bunch of lines, just gave it an overall shape, and I think it came out looking pretty nice. I like the mountains a lot too, the dual mountains, how they're sort of crossing each other, and then the way the reflection is just sort of lines that suggest the form. I thought that was a nice portion too. Piece 6 actually combines 2 different prompts, Lighter Than Air and The Art of Zen. Floating platforms in the sky create a strange pathway that leads into the unknown. In the background, a magical-looking sword seems to be waiting, representative of a long and difficult path of discipline and practice, self-reflection and isolation. The sword one was interesting, just having this gigantic sword right in the middle of the picture to take all the focus, but then you've got kind of these, they kind of look like Salisbury steaks to me, to be honest, but these little platforms that are creating this curving pathway into the distance. I love the sword, the way the hilt looks with the metallic going across the hilt, and then the gem on the cross guard. I like that one a lot. Piece 7 is Couples. The gesture of pulling someone up feels like the quintessential image of a couple, a bonded pair that lifts each other up when the rocky mountains of the human experience prove steep and unyielding. Despite the turmoil, the world around them shows blue skies. With hands firmly clasped, they maintain a stability in their union. The couples one was interesting. It was very different than any of the other pieces that I did for this project. I just really like this idea of helping someone up, giving them a hand, lifting them up to where they'll be on steady ground. And I liked putting these interesting colors on the characters too. This like pink hair and then the light blue background. and then the sort of intense colors of the grass that the character's pulling their partner up. Piece number 8 is Refuge. In the darkness, a cottage seems to lie in wait, the front door open and light pouring out to welcome in visitors. The cabin one was fun. It was such a small space, but I wanted to try to put something in there, and I thought, a little cabin, it could be sort of a faraway look at this little cabin, and then the light pouring out, how to give a nice sense of direction. Piece 9 is Lighter Than Air. In the early 1900s, many discoveries were made regarding the invisible world of electrons and X-rays. This picture is an interpretation of these elements of the invisible. The world was suddenly so much larger than it had ever seemed before. The unknown world one, this one with these little kind of neutrons or electrons or something, some kind of a ball of energy. I thought that one was interesting. It almost gave me like storm cloud vibes, but I like that. I liked bringing in the blue metallic and then having little flecks of color in this weird little ball things. Piece 10 again combines two different prompts: boats and storm. A boat rides a massive wave, and a creature from the deep is seen approaching, jaws red with blood already. The boat seems to stand tall and proud, even in the midst of such a powerful storm. In a way, this is a reminder that the hardest events in our lives are often the dangers we can't see coming. The boat one was pretty fun. I especially enjoyed making the waves, using different colors to kind of create the effect of having the ship being hoisted on these waves and just the sense of motion in the ocean. And then the creature from the depths coming up, it felt very cinematic. And then I wanted to put a dark sky in there to make it feel appropriately stormy. And the boat, I enjoyed putting little details on the boat too. Putting the mast, trying to give it a little blue for some shadow. I like the creature too. It's got Moby Dick written all over it, but I wanted to give it a sort of appearance with the mouth and the blood, just to give it a powerful presence or force in the picture. Piece number 11 is Bit of Magic. A strange and powerful magic seems to be swelling from the blue pot. A green explosion swells, rings of the explosive energy rippling outward. But is it for good or is it for ill? The Bit of Magic one was a good time. That one was interesting. I wanted to do something similar to another picture that I made before, and so I wanted to use kind of an explosion, and the little pot was just sort of a perfect catalyst for that. It's probably going to give most people Hocus Pocus vibes maybe, and I saw that movie long ago, and I think I saw that movie after I made this picture, so I know that didn't really have an influence on it, but it's definitely got a witch's vibe to it. Piece number 12 is Moonglow. Through a barely visible window, the moon just manages to peek through the top left pane. It almost looks like an eye peering in. The tiny pictures are always some of the more interesting challenges because they're so small. Like, what can you really put in there? What can you really fit into that space? And how can you still find a way to sort of tell a story with it? The Moonglow one was, I thought for such a small section, like a little window would probably be perfect. So having just sort of a window to glimpse in, and it's going to obviously give you less to see. You're going to see only a small portion of what's in the room, but I thought doing an outside perspective one with the moon peering in, and that's all you can really see. It's a nice little piece of narration. It's almost kind of gloomy or ominous. Piece number 13 is Pretty Poison. The corner of a multicolored green vial is seen, and some unidentifiable form lingers in the background. A stream of liquid seems to be pouring into the vial from above. The Pretty Poison one was, for such a tiny space, it's like you really have to think, like, what can you do with that tiny amount of space? And I thought maybe a little side of a vial, like a profile of a vial would be interesting. Maybe some liquid and There's just enough space to be able to fit all that in there. And then the little sort of colorful smudge in the back I thought would be interesting enough to lend sort of an air of ambiguity to it. And whatever's going on in this situation, however you want to perceive it, or however you see it.
Piece number 14 is Ancient History. On the right side of the panel is the eye of a cyclopean beast, though whether it's dead or asleep is anyone's guess. Instead, it appears to be frozen beneath the ribbon next to its face. The two colored wands at the top of the piece seem to be in battle, or perhaps in an effort to summon the beast below. Magical rings exude from them as a result of this act.
So, Ancient History, this one was pretty wacky to put together. It's just so many things are going on, there's so much to look at, and having this face down in the corner really gives it an air of like, it must be some kind of a golem. It sort of looks trapped, it's under all this maybe rock or whatnot. And then there's these two objects at the top that kind of look like wands or horns or something like that, and then the rings around them make them look sort of extra magical. And I thought, this one kind of gives me an ancient vibe, something like, makes me think of Dragon Age with shale and golems and stuff like that. Just really love the way it came out, and the metallic ribbon next to the head, that was interesting. The whole thing wasn't even originally supposed to be a golem, I was just putting shapes together, but it's just the way that things form. Sometimes they end up looking like other things, and I love when that happens.
Piece number 15 is The Wave.
The bottom section of the piece holds a number of broken and misshapen stars. The union is uneven and messy, and some stars are split or blurred, lacking the sharp edges they once had. The patterning shows that though it is broken, the union continues to stay together through the efforts of the few who look to work together instead of seeking to divide their citizens. So the giant flag at the bottom was just, I had a stencil for these sort of fractured stars, and I decided to put it down here, and it became kind of a flag. It looks sort of like some kind of a flag with all these distorted stars. It gives a very dystopian feel, and I love the way the background looks with the little bits of blue that I put on in little layers, and I like the way they came out. It's got kind of the lightness to darkness sort of gives it a kind of a wavy feel.
The final piece is number 16,
Remembrance and Hope. In the center of the picture, standing on two strange metal legs, is a traveling machine. Each of the pictures are different instances of history and situations that encapsulate various aspects of the human experience. With the machine, these events can be rediscovered and examined for the benefit of future societies. On the right and left sides of the picture, green and red liquid appears to be spilling down and over the sides of the flag. This can be thought of as the primordial soup that makes up the Union of States. The machine in the center was actually made using a component from a game called Horrified. It was the character cards. They sort of look like almost like badges, but with a little ribbon at the bottom. And I love the way they look, that particular shape. And so I knew I had to fit it in here somehow. So I decided to just kind of make it the centerpiece, and it just kind of grew. There's all sorts of stuff going on with this machine looking thing. And there's I put lots of stippling in, I put line work, I made lots of shapes and just tried to give it an overall interesting feel. And I think it definitely came out weirder and more interesting than initially expected, especially with the legs that come down. Almost like these weird stilts with metal slats stuck to them somehow with rivets. It's very weird, but I really like the way it looks. It's definitely got a strange kind of futuristic machine look. So that's the picture. It was a fun challenge trying to do this 30-day acrylic word prompts and putting them into one piece. I didn't know how it was going to come out, but I'm glad it came out the way it did. I like the picture a lot. I've always had a fondness for pictures within pictures, and almost seeing people put paintings into paintings and what they do with those how how they put those paintings together and how much detail they can fit into just this tiny little space. And it's always a fun challenge doing prompts like these, where you're given a word, or maybe you draw a tarot card and you have to make some piece based off of that, but it's just a small piece, so you have to think of your limited space and have to choose which colors you're going to use, if you're going to put them in frames, or if you're going to maybe make them portions of something larger. And it's just, everything's kind of up to you as the artist to choose what you want to do with those spaces, and how you want to use them, and how they're going to contribute to the overall piece. And I like this one a lot for all of those qualities. I feel like all of these little pieces sort of feed into the overall piece. And the idea of these being sort of memories or aspects of the human experience, and how this strange machine might be able to travel to these different places and rediscover these feelings and experiences. Kind of makes me think of like The Giver, for instance, with being able to share the thoughts and memories of times long past. And you know, these days I think most people are eager to get out and have experiences again, and so something like this is kind of a fantasy, to be able to go and experience all these things with just using some kind of a machine of some sort, to be able to do that, some piece of technology that can aid. There's so much technology that aids us already, just like being able to record this and put this video out there. And it's nice to have the opportunity to share this art with anybody who has an interest in abstract pieces, or pen and ink, or line work, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's definitely my groove. So if you enjoyed this, thank you for watching, and I appreciate your time. And if you liked it, please give a like. It helps out a lot with the algorithm, since that's basically what YouTubers seem to thrive by and live by and die by, unfortunately. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be continuing to post new videos, working on new pieces of art. I already have like 3 other pieces I'm working on right now, so I'd love for you to come check those out when I post them. And anyways, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day, and see you later.